There are a ton of different CRMs out there that claim to have a QuickBooks integration. And it's not that they're lying, and they're not wrong, but there's a huge difference in variety when it comes to QuickBooks integrations of what's actually useful and what's not. So for example, you could have a really lightweight QuickBooks integration, which simply takes your CRM customers and pushes them into QuickBooks. Or maybe you can create an invoice inside of your CRM and push that into QuickBooks, but does it have the right line items? And when your client pays that invoice, is that going to update everything back inside of your CRM? So one of the things I see are a lot of home service businesses, and they might use a dedicated CRM platform, but they're so heavily reliant on QuickBooks that if that integration really isn't up to snuff, that can be a really bad experience for their business. So in this video, we're going to talk about Method CRM, and this is the CRM that I've come across that has the best integration with QuickBooks. And it's not just QuickBooks Online. For those of you still using QuickBooks Desktop, they actually have an integration with that as well. For businesses already running their operations inside of QuickBooks, Method adds everything that QuickBooks is missing: lead tracking, estimates, job scheduling, portals, and workflow automation, all without having to retype the same data twice. And for those of you using Xero instead of QuickBooks, they have a nice integration set up for that as well. So we'll be taking a look at Method CRM, its core features, its pricing, its pros and its cons, to help you decide if it's the right tool for your business. Hey, I'm Dan Lehman from SoftwareFinds.com, and we create reviews and comparisons of small business software so you can decide what's the right tools for you based on your unique business needs. Okay, so let's hop into Method CRM. When we log in, we're going to see kind of our dashboard area, and we can take a look at all the different apps that we have. If we want to navigate from here and create new records, we can easily do that. We can also click on Insights, and Insights let us create our own dashboards where we can add different screenlets too. Now, these screenlets, as they call them, are really the common things that we'd want to take a look at within QuickBooks. So we can add these to actually customize our dashboard to see some of its core metrics. So because QuickBooks doesn't have a lot of the lead functionality, one of the core ways that you're going to get new contacts, new opportunities into the system is by creating a web to lead form. And here we're able to customize a little bit what the form looks and feels like. And so we can automatically have it create a new opportunity for us. We can tell it which opportunity stage to put it into. So ultimately, your form will look something like this. You can add custom fields as well. You'll obviously want to put in your own logo, but that means you can put this on social media, on your website. People can fill in information and automatically push that data then into Method. I can't say this is the most sophisticated form tool that I've seen with a CRM, but it covers your bases. In our customers and leads section, this is where we can see our contacts and companies that we have. If we drill into a contact, we can see their core information over on the side, their lead details if they came in from a form, any billing information. And then here's where we can see different activities, both open and closed activities. And so this could be a meeting or a phone call, or we could assign a task to ourselves. And so most of these other entities that you see here, like our invoices and payments and all of this customer information, we can sync this automatically in what's called bi-directional sync with QuickBooks. So that means we could update or create customer information inside a Method. It's going to automatically push and update that information inside of QuickBooks and vice versa. When it comes to interactions with your customers, they also support email campaigns. So you can create an email campaign, and in it, you can create your own templates, or you can choose from a lot of existing templates. Now, I'd say most of this is going to be transactional in nature. Of course, this is a CRM for QuickBooks, so you can expect that it would be a lot of transactional things like proposal confirmation, order information, as opposed to your more traditional email marketing. So when it comes to email, we also have this sidebar that exists inside of our email. This can open up, and so if we are interacting with a customer and we open this up, it can automatically load in their contact details, and we can see related records as well. And if they're not already in the CRM, then we've got the option to add their information into the CRM. Now, I don't really love the way that we log these emails. You can see I've got view activities and I can press plus new. You can see the performance is a little bit slow. That's not really Method's fault. It's just the way they've chosen to implement this technology. It's a little bit slower when it exists inside of email here. So it's definitely not like what you get when you use Salesforce or HubSpot or some other options. And then it does attempt to populate the information to save me from having to manually enter it myself, but I think they only accept up to like 250 characters. And so you can see even in this very short message that truncates my email. It actually chops it off. So in the whole scheme of things, there is no actual bi-directional email syncing. Yes, you can send emails out, and we can save emails from within our inbox, but it's not like they're automatically being ingested, and that's a feature that you're going to find in other CRMs. Now, when it comes to managing our pipeline or our opportunities, remember this can come from our web to lead form that we create the opportunity. Of course, we could manually create it ourselves as well. And with these different tables, we can create our own views. So maybe we want to see all of our open opportunities or closed opportunities, and we can change which columns can actually display here. But there's not a Kanban board out of the box. Yes, you can do different customization inside of this CRM, but it kind of seems a little bit limiting to not have a more visual way to manage our pipeline. I will point out you can click onto reports here, and this is a little bit more visual in terms of if we had obviously more demo data in the system, we could see what's in our pipeline and the amounts and things like that, but that's still not quite as nice as being able to actually manage this in a much more visual kind of way. So next I want to talk a little bit more about the QuickBooks integration itself because it's pretty cool. Now, one of the things I've always heard about is that Method has this special patent on their syncing technology. And I was really curious about this because I'm someone who integrates different business systems together. And most of the time, especially when you have APIs and things like that, you don't really patent an integration. You don't say, aha, well, we have our special patent on a QuickBooks integration. That's not a normal kind of thing that I hear. So if my research serves me correctly, it's not so much that the actual QuickBooks integration is that remarkable or has a patent on it. What essentially happened is Method's been around for a while, and so they have a special utility that syncs what you have for your QuickBooks desktop, and that can sync basically this local database on your computer and sync that to the cloud. And that technology is pretty stinking sweet. It's not something that anybody would really create today. And so I think they're still using it more just for marketing hype than anything else. But it is pretty cool technology that you can say, hey, take this software that I have on my computer and have it just automatically sync. Because most of the time you'd have to like export CSV files and then upload them. And it would take all of these extra steps. So if you are using the desktop version, that's pretty cool. For those of you who are using the cloud software anyways, well, then that's just using APIs, and any other software could really do this, but they've still taken the time to build this really deeply enriched integration. So let's take a look at something like this opportunity. And down at the bottom, this is what you're going to see a lot of the time is that you can just convert these records into the next logical step in the progression. You don't have to create a brand new thing. So if we're on an opportunity, hey, maybe we'd want to create a proposal or estimate from that. I'm just going to go ahead and skip that and go straight to an invoice. So here we can see this pulls in the customer information. We've got our due dates, our payment terms. We could put some defaults on that. And then just like in QuickBooks, presumably we'd have more items. I've just got some demo data set up, but we could choose our items that would actually be from QuickBooks, put in a description, add a quantity, put in a rate. Then I'll scroll down here. Let's go ahead and save this, and we'll send it to our customer as well. So now if we pop into QuickBooks, we've got that bidirectional sync going on. It's near real time. It's created that same invoice that we just created on the Method side, and it's now here in QuickBooks. And they also have a customer portal that you can set up as well. So you could see any service agreements or transactions. We could click into our transactions, and here our client's going to see the invoice. And I don't have it set up for this, but you could actually accept payments directly within the portal as well. Now, some extra goodies that I don't want to forget to mention are that you can do time tracking inside of the system. So we could add a new time entry and people can log this. And I think what's really great about this, some of you might be wondering, okay, so if I have all this data that's syncing back and forth between Method and what we're doing in QuickBooks, why not just use QuickBooks? And I think one of the core value propositions really is that, hey, your accountant wants to be in QuickBooks, but you don't want to expose QuickBooks to like everybody on your team. And so doing things like your time entry and getting signatures and doing proposals, all that kind of stuff, you might have people on your team, but you don't really want them to have access inside of QuickBooks. And so this is a really nice way that you can do a lot of those extra pieces, the sales side of things, the project tracking, all that kind of stuff, that then you can give them the permissions that they need directly inside of the CRM. They've got a mobile application that they can use, and they don't have to muddy up what actually happens inside of QuickBooks. Now, on top of time tracking, you've got proposals you can send out. You can collect e-signatures on those. And so this is going to cover some of those added functionality pieces that you might normally have to pay for yet another system on top to collect e-signatures, but here you can do it directly inside a Method. Method CRM CRM does have a mobile application that you can use. It's not the highest rated on the App Store when you download it. Mostly feels like a wrapper around the web application, which is fine. That means you get access to pretty much everything that's on here. Now, here I'm on like my contacts, and if I click into a contact, then I can see my contact details, and you can see it's all responsive, and we can see any related records. So if I want to open this, it takes me there, and I can close that out. And if you are using this for field service, you can capture an e-signature directly on here, which I think is a nice feature. But overall, it doesn't have a lot of the other CRM kinds of functionality. So for example, if I were to click to call a number and then I hang up here, most of the time, this would prompt me to log an activity like, hey, a phone call just took place, and put in some details, and I could use voice to text. They don't really do that on here. I don't see a ton of additional functionality on the mobile app. So they do have it. It's easy to access, but it doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. Next, let's talk about customization of the platform. So one of the things you can do is they have this app marketplace down here. And now some of these are installed app packs already. Like we've got our accounting lists and our contact management. But what you can also do is you can create your own custom apps of functionality, and you can choose who you make that available to. So for example, we could have case management if we want to extend it that way. Or if you've got a field service use case, you could have your field crew and add them in here. This is going to add functionality like for work orders. And so it's very modular in a way. If you don't need field service functionality, you don't have to have that app installed. But if you need some of these other use cases, hey, you can get work orders, you can add them in. Great, you can extend the platform by creating these different apps. Another thing that we can do here on any of our screens, so here I'm on my opportunities, we can click up here and I can customize the screen. And this launches us into this design mode where we can customize so much stuff, how this looks and feels on the screen, what fields that we have. So we see all these different objects that we can add. We can have maps there. We can add icons, lots of different choices. In Method, you can create as many custom fields as you need. You can create custom objects or tables. And then if I scroll down here and click on some kind of control like a button, you can see create invoice. And down here, we've got the option to add actions and events. This is a click here. And this is what we have called as an action set. Now, a lot of other CRMs have workflow automation. And I can't say that Method has kind of the trendiest or easiest way of doing this, but they have a very powerful set of automations that you can create. So for example, this is the full action set. If we're on an opportunity and before we showed you how to create an invoice from it, we convert it. That's normally like back-end logic in a lot of other CRMs that you'd never touch. You wouldn't be able to really customize it and make it your own. Instead, they give you access to the entire routine here. And you can see all the fields that are involved, and you can see conditional logic that's created. And then we're going to retrieve these values from the table. And we've got this logic to keep progressing through it, all these different steps. And so this is not for the faint of heart. If you're looking for a workflow automation setup in a CRM that's really easy to use, that has your standard triggers and actions, I think this is going to be pretty complex for a lot of people. But on the other hand, if you have the time to learn it or the budget to hire a consultant, there's really a lot that you can do to configure and extend this platform. Now, when it comes to integrating Method to other tools that you might have in your business stack, we've got some options here, but I'd say it's pretty light compared to a lot of other CRMs. So as I mentioned, the big integration is going to be either for QuickBooks or for Xero. Those are going to be the really powerful integrations. And then we can integrate to Gmail or to Outlook, which we talked a little bit about, and to our calendar as well. And then we've got options for things like MailChimp. But you can see there's not this whole library of integrations that we choose from. It's really quite lightweight. Now, Method does have an API that you can tap into. And so if you do want to integrate to other systems, this is an option. Or if you want to use more of a no-code tool like Zapier, then we've got our different events here as triggers. You can see that these are all polling, which means that they're not webhook based. So a webhook would be, hey, your customer has been created, and automatically we get a notification that then allows us to connect to these other systems and move that data. But polling means we don't get these automatic alerts. Instead, we ask every certain period of time, hey, do you have any new customers for me? hey, do you have any new customers for me? And so that method of integrating isn't quite as ideal, but it still gets the job done. And overall, we've got quite a few actions that we can choose from so that we can create and update and search for the right records that we need to. Next, let's talk about pricing. There is no free plan for Method CRM. You can do a 14-day free trial. And then we've got 3 core plans. We've got a Quick Start package, CRM Pro, and Enterprise. And then there's also multi-entity. And so this would mean if you own multiple businesses and you've got multiple entities set up in QuickBooks, then you can work with their team to actually set it up for those different entities. Now, as we take a look at the features for each of these, I have to say I don't love the core pricing page because yes, we have a legend here to show some features or all features, but this is still not super clear to me what exactly this means. Like, hey, you get partial communication and productivity. And so I'd recommend that you check out the full features comparison where there's that small link there. And so the core piece that really stands out to me here is around the financial management side. So if you want to be able to have kind of the full integration with QuickBooks, that you can actually create estimates within the CRM, have it go to QuickBooks to get all of this financial information, then you need to be on their Pro plan. Here you can see as well, the sales pipeline functionality is mostly restricted to CRM Pro. And then while you can have online portals for all the plans, you can only accept payments through the portal if you're on CRM Pro or above. Now, I kind of like the way they do their enterprise plan, which makes it look like you can pay for most of the features individually on the Pro plan, or you could actually bump up to enterprise. So things there are going to be viewing and creating purchase orders, viewing and creating bills. That's going to be more on enterprise, or you could pay for that on Pro. Then if you want to do it for customer support, manage cases, that's going to be on enterprise and let them actually submit cases through the portal. That's another enterprise use case. And then the email campaigns that we talked about, you can pay for that access on Quick Start or Pro, but it's included on enterprise as well. Now, what's crazy about their pricing that very, very few other CRMs let you do is that you can actually mix and match these pricing options to create a plan that works for your team. So you could have some people on Pro and some on Quick Start. What typically happens for these other CRMs is that everybody needs to upgrade. If you want this one piece of functionality, well, great. Now your whole team of 20 people all has to upgrade. So this is really cool that you can mix and match depending on the needs of your business. Let's take a look at our website, softwarefinds.com, so we can see how this kind of stacks up against other CRMs that are out there. So if we take this at face value, meaning that their integration to QuickBooks is huge and completely unique. But if we kind of forget about that and we just look at the landscape of CRMs holistically, then we're kind of coming in at the middle of the pack, meaning they have a ton of functionality. I kind of think of their QuickBooks integration as being like a mini ERP. So instead of building out this full ERP, you get that value. You get quite a bit of value with the licenses. It's not the cheapest platform. It's more expensive to get your foot in the door than a lot of other platforms, but you get a lot of bang for your buck. Impact, we kind of think about this and you can come here and see the different questions that we ask, but impact is going to be, hey, are we getting more relevant features? Is the pricing model more favorable than others? You can see obviously this mixing and matching of pricing. That's a big deal. And can this scale with you? It's like in some regards, I'd say yes, but I still think of this as mostly a small to medium business. I wouldn't say if you're, a huge enterprise that you're probably using Method. You've probably got some other options at your disposal, like maybe you do a full ERP implementation. But I think if you're like a small to medium sized business, then this is going to be pretty huge for you. Configurability, you can do so much customization. You've got those custom objects. You can create custom screens. I would say it's a little bit outdated in terms of some of the interface elements to it, but you really can customize it to your business process. That's great. Now, ease of use, I think, is where it gets the biggest ding. QuickBooks isn't a simple system. There's so much going on in their user interface, and I feel like Method could have the opportunity to clean that up and make it a little bit easier to use, but mostly it just kind of mimics what we have in QuickBooks plus adds additional functionality. And that's great, but I'd say for a beginner, It's not going to be a platform you can just hop into and it's super easy to use. But if you've been using QuickBooks for a long time and you're already set up with QuickBooks, I think it's going to make a lot of sense for you. I just don't think it's going to be quite as easy to use as some other platforms. And then they are very transparent about their pricing. I love their pricing model. And so overall, that's a really good fit. So if you want to see how Method stacks up to other CRMs, you could say compare two different categories. So value against configurability, and they rank pretty highly if you want to check out these different tools. So let's talk about who Method CRM is a good fit for. If you're a small to medium business, and I'd say especially service businesses, and you're using QuickBooks a ton already, and you've just felt like, man, wouldn't it be nice if I could use QuickBooks as my CRM, or if I had just a little bit more CRM functionality on top of what I'm doing in QuickBooks, then I think Method is a great fit for you. If you're a solo entrepreneur, or maybe just have a couple contractors, I think that it's going to be a little bit expensive and a little bit complicated to try to manage all of this on top of QuickBooks. I think there's probably some easier options out there for you if you're running a really small team. I'd also say if you're really scaling a sales team, then this probably isn't the most user-friendly salesperson kind of CRM. It ties really well to QuickBooks and you get a lot of that enhanced functionality. But again, it's not going to be able to manage your pipeline quite the same, or tap into your phone calls and your emails and log that all in the system. So I think it's lacking a little bit of traditional CRM elements that we see in some other platforms. But again, if QuickBooks or Xero is really essential to your business and you want a CRM on top of it, you really can't go wrong with Method. If at the end of watching this video, you're still not quite sure which is the right CRM for you, check out our other reviews and comparisons on our YouTube channel and subscribe for more updates.